Oh, good morning, everyone. Jeff Exline from the Digital Content Center, and it is a Wednesday. I'm tracking thunderstorms, and we're tracking rounds of rain, waves of rain over the course of the next few days. Really, in the near term, a thunderstorm will impact the area early this afternoon. It'll be a quick hitter. It'll move in, it'll move out. It could contain some loud thunder, and I'll explain why here in a second. And we could also even see a little bit of hail with a thunderstorm. So if you have a vehicle that's parked outside and you have a garage, you may want to be able to move it in to the garage for these storms to roll through early this afternoon. Then we carve out a break for later this afternoon and this evening. The second round of rain we'll be tracking will be for the overnight hours into early Thursday morning. So let's get right to it, the nitty gritty here, and show you what's going on. We have a mainly cloudy sky across the area. A warm front is lifting on through, and this is going to generate those thunderstorms that we'll be seeing. So an early afternoon storm threat. It's going to turn breezy and warmer later this afternoon. It will be a dry evening, as I mentioned, and then more rain will follow overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. You can really make out that warm front as temperatures are now jumping into the upper 50s in Wheeling. It's 42 in Cleveland, and Charleston is up to 66. So this warmer air is flooding in from the south. Again, Nashville, Tennessee up to 75 degrees, but Cleveland, Ohio is a chilly 42 right now. So warm front lifting in. This is generating that surge of warmer air, and it's also creating the thunderstorms. And when you think about a warm front, you have cold, dense air in place near the surface, and then you have warm air overriding that. So what happens is the warmer air will go aloft first before it reaches the surface. So in these thunderstorms, there's going to be an inversion. What's an inversion? It's a fancy word that meteorologists use for temperatures rising with height. So typically in the atmosphere, if you climb a mountain, it's colder at the top of the mountain than it is at the valley, right? The higher up you go, the colder it is. But in this instance, because warm air is less dense than cold air, the warmer air rises over the colder air. So it's colder near the surface and becomes warmer up above. We call that, again, an inversion. So why is that important? Because when an inversion sets up like that and you have thunderstorms rolling through, that helps trap the sound near the surface. So I've been talking about this yesterday and all morning long, that these thunderstorms will likely have some loud boomers coming through. They're going to be loud. They may not be severe in nature, but they're going to be loud because of that inversion trapping the air near the surface. So we're going to trap that noise near the surface of the thunder. So be on the lookout for that this afternoon. We'll see if I'm right on those regards. I have a feeling I will be. Let's take a look at the weather app here for this afternoon and for the day today. Remind you can download the Severe Weather Team 9 app and follow along with the changing weather conditions. Early afternoon, 1-2 o'clock is where we're looking at those thunderstorms rolling through. So quick glance at that shows you that's the time in which you don't want to be outdoors. The rest of the time, you'll be a-okay as we climb close to 70 degrees this afternoon. Breezes will pick up out of the south, and we'll see some gusts of 30 miles per hour. First half of the night dry. Overnight tonight is when we'll see another round of showers and thunderstorms move through. So some of these storms are prompting severe thunderstorm warnings. There's a look at the radar right now. And again, our local area, not seeing any rain, but there's that line of lightning, thunder, and there can be some hail with this. We could turn on the let's see if we could turn on the hail for you, hail mode here. Give me a second while I try to find it. Lots of lightning. There's the lightning strikes with that. So lots of lightning headed our way. You're going to hear thunder into early this afternoon. And we have the possibility of picking up a little bit of hail. You can see how these storms are producing hail. Nothing too large. Radar estimates of a pea to quarter-sized hail, but then you get to a quarter-sized hail, that's getting a little big. A lot of pea to quarter-sized hail coming in out of these storms. You can see in a couple segments right there. So here are some of those severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect for these areas west of us between Columbus and Zanesville right now. And again, this entire line is moving off towards the east. So this is all headed in our direction. And let's see if there are any reports coming out. Yeah, here's a report coming out of central Ohio, just to the northwest, northeast side of Columbus, in which they are seeing some hail. Let's get a grape-sized hail. Grape-sized hail was reported. I guess it depends how big your grapes are, right? Some of the grapes at the grocery store are pretty big. But so that's an indication of what is going on here. So that's that line of storms that we're tracking. Again, this will be moving in for early this afternoon. Again, there's some of the hail cores with it. So if you have your vehicle parked outside, if you can move it indoors, I recommend it in the garage here. And anytime there's thunderstorms heading our way and they have a history of producing hail, just be on the safe side. Don't want any dents or anything like that. What's causing it? Again, a warm front is causing these showers and storms. Look at all the lightning strikes. There are a ton of lightning strikes up in the Cleveland area, northern Ohio, where locally we're sort of just getting a quick. While they're getting fairly several hours of heavy rain in these areas up in across northern Ohio. We're going to get a quick hitter. It's going to be moving in, and it is going to be moving out this afternoon. But it will produce a line of showers and thunderstorms as it moves on through. So let's take a look at our Futurecast product. So this does a good idea of tracking these waves of rain. We'll be doing this a lot over the next few days, but let's take it one day or so at a time, couple days at a time, to try to track the rain coming in, for the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. We'll have to get closer to that point. But in the near term, I can tell you early this afternoon, there will be those thunderstorms that I just showed you right now between Zanesville and Columbus at 1 p.m. They'll be lining up from about Caddis to Cambridge to New Philadelphia. And then that will push east, 2 p.m. A lot of areas along the Ohio River will be seeing those thunderstorms at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Again, they'll come through. And you may be thinking, no baseball today? No, they'll be moving right out. 3, 4 o'clock, they're out of here. We have a baseball game we're televising in Weirton. Weir High taking on the Blue Dons, Madonna Blue Dons. It's a clash of Weirton at 5 p.m. It's our first television broadcast of the season for baseball, and we're going to have that for you live on Fox 9 at 5 o'clock this afternoon. So you can watch that game if you want. And again, they are going to get that game in because we're going to get that break in the rain. Now, overnight tonight, into early tomorrow morning, here comes round 2. So this is the second round. So this is Thursday morning. That's 4 a.m. This round of storms could contain some gusty winds. They will be in the process of weakening as they move into the area. There's still a lot of shear, not a lot of instability, though, during the 4 or 5 o'clock hour, but another line of showers and storms crossing the area. Now, this one may linger a little bit. You can see into the morning hours how we'll be dealing with some showers. There'll be some breaks. There we are at noon on Thursday. And then later in the afternoon, there can be another round of thunderstorms developing Thursday afternoon. Now, how much rain? Now, this is potential rainfall through Sunday. And notice 2-3 inches, probably pretty common. There could be some spots upwards of 4 inches. National Weather Service has issued a flood watch for portions of the area. Now, I want to stress something because you may be watching a lot of different outlets when it comes to the Weather Channel. There's so many sources to get weather information now. You may just tune into the Weather Channel. You may catch the Today Show. You may hear Al Roker say, destructive flooding for the Ohio Valley or once in a lifetime flooding. Now, the Ohio Valley, something to keep in mind, runs all the way from Pittsburgh to where the Ohio River goes into the Mississippi. It's the lower Ohio Valley that is going to feel the brunt of this heavy rain. Now, no doubt about it, we're going to see rounds of rain, but the amount of rain is going to be likely around 2-3 inches, maybe as high as about 4 inches. I think it's going to be the max around here. So there's a 100% chance we'll get 1 inch, through Sunday. There's a 95% chance we'll get 2 inches. So I would count on at least 2 inches of rain. There's a 60% chance of 3 inches. So that's why I'm thinking that 2 to 3 inch mark is where most of us will be. I wouldn't be surprised if some places had about 4 inches of rain. But I don't think we're going to get a whole lot more than that. And this is spread out over 5 days, this is through Sunday, not one day. So keep that in mind. And here's you'll be able to get a better idea of this. And maybe what I could do is hopefully, let's see if I could blow that up for you big so you can get a better idea. You don't need to see me. So, so here we are in the Ohio Valley right here. So there's the 2, 3, maybe 4 inches of rain. This is through Sunday. These are rain amounts. Now notice the lower Ohio Valley from Cincinnati into western Tennessee and into Arkansas. This is where they're going to be seeing the heaviest rain. This is the axis of heaviest rain. You look here, there's some places 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 inches of rain. Now that area is where there's going to be a lot more flooding than versus here. we can handle 2, 3, maybe 4 inches of rain in a 4 or 5 day span. Uh, we can't handle it all at once. If the other thing is it's very dry. We're coming off of a deficit of 3 inches now for the year. We're going to make up a lot of that deficit here over the next 4 to 5 days. But because it's spread out over those several days, I don't think it's going to be too bad around here. I wouldn't let your guard down if you live in a flood prone area. But the heaviest rain is going to be falling to our south from Cincinnati into the lower Ohio River Valley. Okay. So this is where the axis of heaviest rain is going to be setting up. I just say that because I don't know. I can sort of get a feel for how people are thinking about weather situations based on my social media pages. I feel a lot of people are concerned when they see these maps, and even just looking at this map, if I didn't circle that area of axis of heavy rain, that what draws your attention to that map is probably all that red, right? So you look at these maps, it looks scary, and you hear people talking about big time flooding, and then they'll throw in the Ohio Valley, but you have to keep in mind what part of the Ohio Valley we live in geographically. So I just want to calm some people out there. Some people been commenting, oh, this is going to be as bad as Ivan. Number one, with Ivan, in 2004, we had saturated grounds from the remnants of Francis that came a week before. So a week before, we had the remnants of Hurricane Francis. A week later, we had the remnants of Ivan. So Francis saturated the soil. Ivan gave us 5 inches of rain or so in less than 24 hours. Not 5 days. So that's a huge, you can't compare those two. They just don't match up. So we're not going to see a repeat of that. Confident in that because it's just, they're two different. We're going into this dry, and we're going to see, 2, 3, maybe 4 inches of rain over 4 or 5 days, not all at once. So let's, don't be comparing to other flood events and such like that, because each flood event, it has a different setup. So that one, it doesn't look like this at all. So just wanted to throw that out there. We'll watch it day by day and continue to track the rain as it moves in. But, there's a high confidence that the axis of the heaviest rain is where I have it circled there. So that's where that is going to be. Okay, so just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, 9+ 1 day forecast. We're going to see high temperatures today surge towards 70. Now, our temperature is going to bounce around a lot here. We'll see that early afternoon thunderstorm. And then this evening's dry, overnight tonight, early tomorrow morning, 4 or 5 o'clock, watch out for a storm rolling through. And then maybe another thunderstorm in the afternoon, especially the southern half of the viewing area on Thursday. Now, it's not going to rain the entire time. In fact, Friday, I could see how outside of early in the morning, it's kind of dry most of the day. Low 60s, a little cooler. And then rain returns later Friday night into Saturday at times. High of 74 on Saturday. Then we drop back down to 58 on Sunday. Now, once we get past Sunday, we push in colder air. Colder air is drier, holds less moisture. So we get out of the wet pattern once we get past Sunday. In fact, next week overall is going to be a lot drier. Now, there'll be some precipitation, but the amount of precipitation is going to be very, very low. So look for a dry week next week, but also look for a cold week. Again, cold air is dry. So we're going to see highs near 50 Monday, and I think we could see some snow showers or flurries Monday night, Tuesday. Highs struggle to get to 40 degrees on Tuesday, and then in the 50s much of next week. Another system may pinwheel in and bring us some showers here next Friday, heading into next weekend. But next week's a lot cooler, overall a lot drier than this week. This week is looking wet, especially the back half of the week here, heading into the upcoming weekend. That's when we'll pick up 2 to 3 inches of rain over this 4 or 5 day stretch, maybe as much as 4 inches of rain. But in the near term, let's see. We have a couple questions here. Kaylee says, what can we expect this afternoon with the storm coming? Okay, so Kaylee's probably just jumping on in here. So let me go over that again. For those of you that are just tuning on in, we are going to see these storms roll through early in the afternoon. They don't look too bad, but they are producing severe thunderstorm warnings near Zanesville, just to the west of Zanesville. So that's what we're watching for early this afternoon. What it is also producing is hail. So there have been some hail reports about pea to quarter size. Not every storm is producing this in that line. Again, let's go back here. So not this entire line is producing it, but within that line, there are some storms that are producing pea to quarter sized hail. So you can see those hail tracks that are coming through. So there can be some hail. It could be a wind gust. It's definitely going to be loud thunder. That's one thing with this line as this warm front's coming through. We talked about the inversion. There's temperatures rising with height that traps the sound near the surface. So I really think there's going to be loud thunder as this rolls on through early in the afternoon hours. So that's what we're looking at. Again, for timing purposes, Kaylee, there we go. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock near the Ohio River, and then it's out of here. So it's a quick hitter, and it's going to be dry until later tonight after midnight towards Thursday morning. And Suzanne is asking about how bad it's supposed to be overnight tonight. Again, Suzanne, these storms should be weakening as they move into our area, but they could produce some instances of gusty winds as they move on through. That would be later tonight. So these are the first two rounds of showers and storms. One early this afternoon, another one coming our way late tonight, very early tomorrow morning. That may wake you up. Their alarm clock going off around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. So that's what we're tracking in the near term. So that's what those storms will bring. There are flood watches in effect, generally 2 to 3, maybe as high as 4 inches of rain expected through the upcoming weekend through Sunday. Friday doesn't look to be all that wet during the day, so we may be able to carve out a fairly dry day. Friday, if you're thinking about going to the home opener for the Pirates, they will be playing the Yankees. 4:12 is the first pitch there on Friday for the home opener. So this is, again, a little explanation of what I'm talking about for this early afternoon. We have that inversion layer. Thunderstorms are moving in. It's cooler near the surface with warmer air aloft, and that traps sound. So the thunder gets bounced back to the ground. So I have a feeling sometimes people think severe thunderstorms are just storms that sound noisy. These may not be severe because they're not going to produce a lot of damage or anything like that, but they are going to be noisy thunderstorms because of this inversion that we have that's trapping the sound and bouncing the noise of thunder around. So we could hear some of that rolling, loud, deep thunder with those thunderstorms as we head into early afternoon hours. Okay, so Suzanne's asking about, because she's seeing stuff about tornadoes and all that mess. Now, again, there are any thunderstorms can produce, tornadoes, and these storm prediction, the Storm Prediction Center puts these risks out, and what Suzanne's probably talking about is the Storm Prediction Center outlook for a particular day, and I could show you these outlooks here. So again, these cover very large areas of the so that's our severe weather outlook for today. We're in a slight risk for today and a slight risk for tomorrow. Basically, what's coming through early tomorrow morning is going to be in the process of weakening. Could produce some high wind gusts, but it should be in the process of weakening. There's just not a lot of instability around at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to keep those storms going. There is some shear around tomorrow morning, but there's not that instability. Okay, so this is what we're watching, though, for early this afternoon. It is producing a severe thunderstorm warning off to our west right now. You can see just to the southwest of Zanesville, this is indicating hail size, maybe about 1.25 inches, wind coming up at 60 miles per hour in that little area right there. So there can be some high wind gusts in some of these storms, and also some hail. These storms have had a history of producing hail across western and central Ohio. In fact, earlier today, ODOT on X, they were tweeting out that they actually had the plows out in western Ohio as they were seeing these thunderstorms move through, and they were producing hail. Now, this storm is producing, look at that, golf ball to baseball size hail. And this is a very small area. I can zoom it out just to show you that. But if we zoom in closer, you can see there that That is some pretty large hail coming out of that cell. At least that's a radar estimate of some pretty large hail. So you see that those storms, they're producing the hail, and there's the cores of the hail. Let me going to remove the. There we go. That's the. There we go. But you can see that red core right there in the pink. That's where the hail is coming down right now in that area. So that's a pretty good signature for some. Anytime you see those, a lot of times when you see those bright colors on the radar, and again, it can be indicative of heavy rain, but it also can be, in this instance, it's picking up on the hail that's up there. So that could be a pretty big, large-sized hail core. Let me see if I can. Trying to do things and talk at the same time can be difficult. Let me see. Let me put a slice through here. Let's sort of just draw into this hail core here. And now we'll have to move it around a little bit. Normally, if you see something shooting up high like that, you'd be able to see where that hail core is. Basically, it's right in that area there. But anyhow, what we're tracking here is this line of thunderstorms just off to the west. It will be moving through early this afternoon around 1 to noon to 3. Let's just give it that window from noon to 3, because it could be moving into, we're about a half an hour away here from noon, and it could be starting to move into the I-77 corridor by then. But between noon and 3, this line is going to move right on through. Will contain lightning and some noisy thunder, and maybe even some hail and some wind gusts with this round. The second round of rain and storms coming our way tomorrow morning would likely produce some heavy rain and some pockets of gusty winds. And the next round coming our way would be maybe tomorrow afternoon, especially around I-70 southward for tomorrow afternoon. So we'll just have to deal with these as they come and go over the next few days. Eventually, I think into the weekend, it will become less of a severe thunderstorm threat as more of just a locally heavy rain threat with the showers rolling through. But in at least over the course of the next couple of days here, we'll also have to watch for some strong thunderstorms at times. Let's see. Kyle, I was curious, can warm fronts produce tornadoes like cold fronts, or warm fronts don't have the cooling air mass like cold fronts produce them? That's a good question, Kyle. Actually, warm fronts are more conducive of producing tornadoes. And the reason why is because there's a lot of wind. Basically, what you need for a tornado, you need the wind to be varying at different heights. So a lot of times the warm front, the wind can be at the lower levels. Like this morning, the lower levels is coming out of the east. And then the upper levels, it's coming out of the south. So right along that warm front, you get that wind changing with height. So that's something a lot that warm fronts actually do produce a lot more than even cold fronts. They do produce a lot of that wind shear like we're seeing. So that can cause some storms to rotate when you see that. Now, these storms, though, today, these ones that are coming through early this afternoon aren't surface-based. If they were more surface-based, you'd be more concerned about tornadoes, but because they're more aloft, they're not they're not developing like a typical thunderstorm does. They're elevated in nature, that you don't really have that tornado threat like you would if they were a surface-based storm with more daytime heating. This, though, is a little bit of a different setup today, but the warm fronts actually can produce more where you see the intersection of warm fronts and cold fronts. That's the area where you're most likely to have tornadoes. So hopefully that helps you understand that one a little bit. And again, some people were asking about different places, Steubenville, Toronto. Again, nothing too bad. There can be some hail, Emily. There'll definitely be lightning early this afternoon. There'll be definitely be some loud rumbles of thunder. But, outside of a high wind gust, I don't think the storms are going to be terribly bad. I think the biggest concern may be for some hail out of some of these storms. Not all locations, though, in our area, but some of those storms, as I showed you, in this line is producing a little bit of hail, and some of the hail has been pretty big. So that's going to be the main threat, would be hail early this afternoon. That's why I was saying, if you have your car or something outdoors, if you can move it in, that would really help. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Cheryl. Glad I can help when it comes to the weather. And we're going to be kind of busy here over the next few days with this weather, tracking these weather conditions. So you just need to, take it one day at a time, as we'll be dealing with all the rain. Here we go. Everyone's going to be asking about their town. So, folks, this is early this afternoon. This is what the Facebook Lives turn into. Everyone just wants to know what's happening in their town. So here's what I can tell you, okay? There's a line of thunderstorms right now to the west of I-77. They are going to be moving east early this afternoon. So there they are right now, okay? And then here they are as we head into the afternoon hours. So you can see them move east, St. Clairsville, 1, 2 o'clock, boom, moves in, moves out. There could be some hail, could be a gust of wind, but it's not going to last too long. And again, these are the map showed you right there. So yeah, unless the storm is literally, okay, I don't know how I can phrase this better. There's going to be a line of storms moving through early in the afternoon. Okay, now, when this storm moves, that's over Zanesville, coming to Zanesville, I could tell you this storm has been producing hail. So those areas between Zanesville and Dresden need to be on the lookout for the large hail. This whole line's moving east, okay, into early this afternoon. So it's a quick hitting storm. A lot of us just going to see some rain, lightning, and thunder, and loud thunder, because of the inversion that we have in place. But a few places will see hail and maybe a higher wind gust, but that's not everywhere, okay? But until that storm's basically coming up on top of you here, so like Cambridge, the severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for Cambridge. I could take a look at that, and northern part of Guernsey County. This is where there could be some hail, and again, maybe some large hail falling from this storm. I'll show you here on our hail tracker that this storm has had a history of producing hail on the order of at least pea to quarter sized hail, maybe even a little bit bigger in some spots of quarter sized hail. So in the near term, we're watching this area right here. Now, this whole line's moving towards the east, though, so we'll be on the lookout. But if we were to expand that eastward, if it can hold together, and storms don't just stay the same strength, they fluctuate, they pulse. So that would be moving towards this part of the viewing area here. Okay, so almost right around north of US 22. I think we'll have to be on the lookout for some of that hail coming into the early afternoon hours from that storm. But the whole line is moving towards the east here. Okay, so that gives you an idea where those storms are. So everyone's going to see, pretty much everyone in our area will see the storms early this afternoon, and it's going to be loud for a brief period of time. It'll rain for a brief period of time, and then it moves on out. There's some of the storm reports. Again, these storms have had a history of producing hail, golf ball size hail here, walnut sized hail, about a quarter an inch sized hail. So these storms have been producing some hail. So that's the one thing I think in our area that you need to be on the lookout. Not everyone is going to see hail. Not every community is going to see hail, but some places are going to see hail. So we'll be tracking that as it moves on in. I can tell you that the storm that is producing the hail is this guy right here. So, and it's a small little area. See that little core? That's where it's hailing. I could draw a little circle around it. That's the hail core. So that's where they're seeing the hail right now, to the north of I-70. So, not everyone is going to see hail as this obviously moves east, but there will be some parts that will see some hail. Lightning and thunder, you'll see that as this moves off towards the east. Again, this doesn't look too bad early this afternoon. It's going to blow in, blow out. It's going to sound a little worse than it is, I think, with some of the thunder being loud. But this doesn't appear to be a solid line of strong storms. It's a very small area that is containing some of this hail. And just looking at it, is the hail core is weakening. Like I was talking about how these storms tend to pulse. We're seeing it lose some of the pink color right now. We're seeing more of that red color. So that's an indication that the hail is probably not quite as big in that area, probably more pea-sized hail to the north of Hopewell and Zanesville, northwest of Zanesville at the current time. Okay, well, I need to get going back, so I got to get ready for the news, which is coming up on News 9 midday. So we'll be tracking these storms moving into the area at noon, and I'll keep you updated throughout the early afternoon until the threat passes here. But just check back in on News 9 midday. So Misty, if you want to, we'll have that all coming up on midday. But again, Misty, here we go. Early this afternoon, I'll walk you through. For those of you guys just tuning in, I see the Facebook works. People just sort of tune in, I just repeat over and over. But so early in the afternoon, Misty, is when we have the storms coming through. Okay. Noon, 1, 2, it's out of here by 3. Okay, rest of the day is dry. Rest of the evening's dry. Overnight tonight after midnight, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, another line of storms coming in. So that's 2 rounds right there. What about the weekend? It is going to rain on and off right through the weekend. So we're not out of this pattern until after the weekend, and then it gets colder. I do want to point out, I do expect about a total over a 4 to 5 day stretch of 2 to 3 inches of rain, maybe as high as 4 inches. There are flood watches in effect for portions of the area, although the axis of heaviest rain is going to be to our south and west. So that is where they're going to have a lot of flooding problems. We need to be vigilant, especially if you live near a flood-prone area, but we're not going to see the heavy rain like we saw out, or like they will be seeing across the southern Ohio Valley. We're in the upper Ohio Valley. Southern Ohio Valley is where the axis of heaviest rain will be falling through the weekend. And let's see here. Who else? We got someone Alan saying that there were some cars were damaged in central Ohio. And Alan, that's with these storms. So that's what we're talking. I was talking about it earlier. Again, with this line moving in, it can weaken. It's actually shown some signs of weakening over towards Zanesville now, but these storms have had a history of producing hail. So if you have your car parked outside and you can move it indoors, I recommend doing so just to be on the safe side, because some of these storms have been producing walnut, golf ball sized hail as they are moving in. So there's a look at some of the hail that these storms have been producing. So, this is what Alan's probably talking about here. Some in these areas right here in central Ohio, this area right here is where there's likely some reports of cars that are being damaged because of hailstones. So, this is moving off towards the east northeast. So if we were to just, a ballpark, as long as it holds together, okay, we could show you that if it's holding together, it's going on that line. So it's headed like that way. Okay, so that just to give you now, again, will it hold the intensity together to produce hailstones all in that path? Probably not. But if it were, that's the path that it's headed. It's heading right to the north of US 22, it looks like, that area right there. So if you're in that little area there, I'd recommend really just anywhere, just be on the safe side if you could move your car indoors because of the hailstone possibility here as we head into early this afternoon. But I just looked at the watch. I really need to get going. Okay, everyone. More updates as the weather moves in, of course. And I got to get going for News 9 midday coming up in about 15 minutes. Okay, have a great afternoon and stay vigilant with the weather. 2 rounds of rain, one early afternoon, another one late tonight, early tomorrow morning. I'll see you.